Hey, welcome to the Icarus Idea. Today we have two guests that are going to explain how to take leftovers, put them in a blender and sell them in a Michelin-star restaurant. And we have something new that we hope you really like. Welcome to the fourth episode of the Icarus Idea, the podcast where we try to find out what you can do with your life as an industrial design engineer. Great to have you listening in again. It's a little bit of a funny story because listening in again is for you the first time. For us, it's the second time. About a week ago, we were in the same place with the same people talking about 3D printing food and laughing and all that stuff. It was really nice. And then the second, me and Sean and Jens, we came home, the laughing stopped. Because Jens, the audio mastermind, he checked the files, and apparently there's 60 minutes of pure silence in our recordings. So, yeah. I'm not allowed to swear, right? But I guess you can imagine that we felt pretty fucked. So we called, and thankfully we can be here again for the second time.
Of course, thank you.
Yeah. As always, Jens is here, this time managing the buttons, so nothing goes, nothing will break down.
He has a nasty smile right now. Yeah.
And Jean, of course.
Yeah, welcome everyone. Unfortunately we had to record this for the second time. Maybe it's a curse or it has a purpose, I don't know. But certainly we're still excited, and we have prepared even more excited questions because we have learned from the first time. In front of us are two ladies who have been upprinting food. Furthermore, they won an Eco Coin Challenge and the 3D Pioneer Challenge for Sustainability. Besides that, upprinting food has also won the prize as Starter of the Year from Rabobank. They share their ideas with people all over the world. They went to the Beijing Design Week. They went to Israel. I had an appointment with the Minister of Singapore 2 weeks ago, right? Welcome, Elzelinde van Doleweerd and Vita Broeken.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. If I remember it correctly from after the first recording, you started with upprinting food, right?
Yes, you remembered it well.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay. How did you come up with the idea for upprinting food? Like, how did you end up with a bachelor assignment that said, okay, you're gonna 3D print food now?
Yes, so printing food was my final bachelor project of industrial design at the Eindhoven University of Technology. And I also did a minor in food technology in the Wageningen University. So I actually combined it during my final bachelor project because, well, I was interested in food. I love cooking, I love to work with food, but also to try food, of course. And on the other hand, a lot of food is wasted, so I want to do something with this. And that's actually started with 3D printing food. Well, within industrial design, you do something with technology, with 3D printing, for example. So I started with this idea, with this combination of reducing food waste with this new technology.
And you just came up with that, like, on the toilet or something?
Well, it started more with a vision of reducing food waste, and then, well, looking how is it possible and how can we combine technology with this? How can we create actually more value from those products that otherwise would have been thrown away? And so, well, experimenting a lot, actually starting with piping bags. Can we create something nice from it? Can we create shapes from a certain puree? Because a piping bag is actually sort of 3D printing, but then not automated. And afterwards I continued with a 3D printer.
Okay, to be clear, what does upprinting food exactly do?
Yeah.
Because we went it for the last time we asked it afterwards, but maybe this is really nice to hear for the listeners.
Yeah.
Yes, I can imagine.
Just to get a clear view, because I believe you take food from, for example, a supermarket that they can't sell anymore, but it's still fine, Then you put it in a blender, and then a 3D printer, and then all of a sudden there's a 3D star restaurant.
Wow.
Yeah, you
That's
can combine
restaurant.
everything. No, it's not that easy. Like starting with a lot of experiments, because you cannot put everything just in a blender and print it afterwards. It has to be a certain consistency. So our recipes are based with bread, because you need starch for a certain stiffness in the puree, but also fruit and vegetables, and then combining it to the nice consistency. And that is what we actually provide to a restaurant, because they make it themselves from their own residual food flows. So we don't put it in the blender for them, they will do that themselves, but they know what kind of consistency they are striving for, and then in the end they can also print it themselves.
I just realized something.
Yeah, me too.
We skipped the pinch of the month.
Aww.
But we could just like be quiet now.
Yeah.
This is your punishment.
Aww.
I have no clue where we were.
Joris, let's start with the pinch of the month now then.
Yeah, well, do you, Elzelinde and Vita, do you want to go first?
Yes, of course. We didn't prepare a new one, but I think it's still very interesting.
For the listeners, it's new, it's fine.
Exactly, that's why. So, what you said, we had a meeting with the minister from Singapore, and we were sitting down with them, and we had a dinner, and then we were talking about how many people live in Singapore and how big Singapore actually is. And they were traveling around the Netherlands, which was really fun. And then they heard from someone that Singapore is the size of one polder. So imagine it's about 4 million people living there in the size of just one polder, and that we thought that was really cool and really interesting because it's really small.
It's pretty crazy.
Yes.
Yeah.
If you imagine Singapore laying in the Netherlands instead of Flevoland, it would be
It would be cool.
So much
It would
more
actually be
interesting.
cool, right?
it would be really cool. Although I think the trains might be like even more crowded than they already are.
Yeah, but
Like
I don't know.
NS would be-
Did you ever go to a train in Flevoland? I don't know whether there's a lot of people there.
No, that's
They have a lot of Michelin-star restaurants, so that's
Oh
pretty
yeah,
nice.
that's true.
in Singapore or
Yeah.
in Flevoland.
In Singapore.
Of course. Fair
Yeah.
enough. But how did you end up with the minister of Singapore just popping by and talking about polders?
Talking about all
Just casually talking to the minister of Singapore about polders.
They actually came to the Netherlands for an event about water
Safety?
which is a thing the Dutch people are very good at.
True that.
So they came by and they wanted to visit some companies that work on sustainable food. So they went to Kipster and they went to visit us, and then afterwards they went to another company in Amsterdam as well to see what sustainable food can do for them, because they want to increase the amount of food they produce in their own country, and they want to do that sustainably. So that's why they came to visit us.
Oh, that's pretty
That's
cool.
really cool.
Yeah, it was really nice.
Sick.
Yeah,
Alright.
So we hope to go there one day.
One
that
day.
would be nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if they can handle you in Beijing and in Israel, then I guess you could hop by in Singapore one day, right?
Yeah.
Talking about polders.
Yeah. Hey. Nice. All right, Sean, you want to go to the next one?
Yeah, I will go to the next one. I prepared pinch of the month last week, but I have got a new one actually to keep you interested. I was reading a newspaper a couple of days ago, and I read an article about a drone, and just not a normal drone, but a drone that will be used for healthcare. Maybe
someone's.
Vita's
I saw it. It was really cool.
Wow. Yeah, it was really cool. Have you
Yeah.
read it?
Yeah, it was about the speed delivery of
Yeah,
healthcare.
yeah. It was a drone that delivers blood to different hospitals,
Okay.
and it is not a normal drone. It's more like this this stealth drone. You know the stealth. How's it called? That they use in Air Force.
The Blackbird?
Yeah, the Blackbird.
Yeah.
Like that kind of style.
Okay.
And then they put just normal propellers that you have on a drone, and another propeller on the back that is like pushing it forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a really fast drone, and that can fly from hospital to hospital. And what they do, they have got like 2 sacks of blood in it with I think around half a liter, and also like a small element that cools the blood and that keeps the blood on the perfect temperature, because that's a thing. And you go like up in the sky, that's really cold, and you've got these temperature differences that they need to cover. So they put that in a drone, and that blood can be transported from one hospital to another. And yeah, sometimes hospitals need like blood really fast, and you've got certain types of blood, and if they don't have this type of blood, then they're like pretty in a struggle, and then a car needs to go from one place to another. And these drones can solve this problem. So really fast blood delivery. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's what I
really
thought.
Cool.
Yeah.
And there's actually like a need for that. The car with blood driving around. That's a thing now, or
the thing is, with these drones, they will not use it tomorrow. By the way, it will take a couple of years of like these regulations, because ANWB is, for example, working together with I guess it was. I forgot. Sorry about that. But they need to have these logistics so that it goes really fast. And if you travel by car, you need to go to, I don't know, to stick to the highways and stuff like that. And with a drone, you can just fly over it and then like be faster in that. So it's a problem nowadays. And yeah, maybe they will use it in the future. I hope so.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's quite nice to see like a good application of.
Yeah, and I also really like the engineering kind of struggles they have, problems, because you have like these temperature differences and like the speed and stuff like that you have to take into account. So
do they still have those struggles, or is that already?
Yeah, they're working on it, like
nice.
Designing it. They like launched the idea, but it's not like they need to optimize it still.
Who is they? Who are making these drones?
Yeah,
We'll put that in the show notes.
I will put that in the show notes.
Yeah.
It wasn't like really clear in the article who made the drones. Only that there were 3 people smiling and we made the drone. Yeah.
Well,
So-
I saw the drone already on the picture.
Yeah.
It was looking great. So.
Yeah. It looked very, very cool. Okay. But Joris.
Yeah. We have something new to announce. So, little teaser for in about 2 weeks. Of course, we're working really hard at the Icarus Idea to make this podcast as good as possible, as interesting as possible. And we really need your feedback for that. So thank you for all the feedback that we had so far. But in that hard work, we have come up with something new, an experiment. It's a 5-minute podcast or video aiming to ease your mind before going to sleep, or when you need a little, let's say, study avoiding behavior moment. We called it the Icarus Nightcap. And in the Icarus Idea, so this podcast now, we start with industrial design engineering or industrial design engineers such as you. And we see where that can go. So can you do, I don't know, a robot fish? Can you 3D print food? Can you become the chief designer of Volvo? Stuff like that. So where can you go starting from industrial design engineering? But with the Icarus Nightcap, we take a look at how you can use knowledge from other people or other people and other professions, and how you can use that in a design or in an industrial design engineering context. So, for example, how can you use the tricks of a magician, or how can you use the knowledge of philosophy to come up with a better design? Stuff like that. So if you need a 5-minute little mental break, or you just going off to bed, then look up the Icarus Nightcap and get inspired. Just relax. And the first one is coming the 20th of December. So that's 2 weeks after this one. And it will be on all our regular channels, Spotify, YouTube, whatever. And just please let us know if you disliked it, if you liked it, whatever. That's the thing, the Icarus Nightcap.
Oh, sounds really cool.
Yeah. That's what we hope.
We're
That's what
excited too.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were going for some kind of NOS op 3 or Koersgezaakt vibes.
yeah,
so really
that's
short
nice.
videos with something weird or interesting.
You're gonna make videos, or is it like a podcast style?
It's like a podcast style, but maybe we'll like make a small animation on. YouTube.
Maybe, yeah. We were planning to do that, but if anyone listening is really good at After Effects, we have a vacancy. Please help, because we don't know how to do it.
We'll pay you just as much as the audio.
Yes. Alright.
Okay.
So shall we get back to the topic?
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about a paste or a puree from a blender that is made of leftover food from high-end restaurants, and then they use that paste, put it in a 3D printer, and serve it again. Right? That was it. That's the idea of printing food. Is that correct? Or?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so then we're back on track.
I think, but I'm still curious, and I think the listeners are too. You started with the idea of imprinting food, and after a while, Vita joined.
Yes. I did.
How did that happen?
Well, Elzelinde applied to go to the Beijing Design Week, and she was invited to go there to present at the Beijing Design Week in like the Dutch food court, and I joined. And we worked together there with a really cool company which makes 3D printers, and we worked together with them on how to present there, but also we organized a dinner, and I joined there to help out basically. But because we worked with them and we got a lot of promotion from it, we actually started thinking about, okay, maybe we can continue with it instead of just going here and then quitting. And now we can like continue afterwards to really continue with it. And then we went to the Dutch Design Week, and we continued by joining a program called Design to Market to actually go from upprinting food to like a business case and going to the Michelin-star restaurant. So that's really cool.
Okay, so it all started with the Beijing Design Week,
Yes.
basically. I think we asked before, you applied for some kind of challenge, right?
Mhm.
A contest or something? And then did you win that or no?
It's you applied and there were like a couple of people who could join, right?
It was like they were starting a collaboration between the embassy of China and the Dutch embassies for the Beijing Design Week to set up a food court actually, and people from the Netherlands could apply with a food design project.
Oh yeah, that was it. So you applied and then you got selected and you were invited afterwards.
Yes, indeed. There were like 6 or 8.
6, I think.
Yes.
It's quite an honor to be part of like one of the top 6. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool, right?
It was really cool as well.
Yeah, there
It
were
was
some
really nice.
great food designers from the Netherlands as well, so it was nice to be part of that.
Like, how was that moment when you get, I don't know, you get like a text or an email that said, hey,
It was just, I didn't believe it in the beginning.
yeah,
More like, I applied it and it was just funny because I didn't thought I would make that. So
I actually remember you doing this because you were like, well, I can just try.
what can go wrong? 3 weeks
yeah,
later.
I was like, I need a signature. Who can sign this? Okay, Mom, can you sign it?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
But then you talked about a 3D printing company.
Mm-hmm.
Were that the people that were really excited and wanted to turn this into a business
Yeah,
idea?
they actually wanted us to stay there. So they wanted us to stay there to work with them to really continue with upprinting food within their company. So we actually started looking into that. Setting up a company in China is very, very difficult.
Yeah.
So
We've been over this. Please enlighten us.
well, if you set up a company in the Netherlands, you go to the Chamber of Commerce and you sign up and you pay 50 euros and you have a company. Probably a lot of people actually already did this in industrial design. But if you go to China, you actually have to go through Hong Kong. So you have to sign up in Hong Kong, which would probably right now be a very terrible
Yeah,
idea.
that's a bad idea.
Normally, you should go to Hong Kong, sign up there, and then set up a company from Hong Kong in China. And that's very, very, very pricey.
It's like 20,000, right?
Yeah.
Ah, that's nothing. It's easy. Yeah. Spare some change.
Yeah. So, and we just decided to continue here in the Netherlands.
On
That's
your
what we
own,
did.
right? Do you still have contact with the company or no?
Sometimes.
Now and then.
Yeah. They're really friendly and it's nice to talk with them.
Oh,
It's
Yeah.
the 3D food company.
They're
Sorry?
really cool.
The
3D food company.
3D food company. Okay. And they help you out with stuff. that you
Well,
wanna do.
sometimes we are just dreaming about having a collaboration again and things like that. So then we have a nice conversation and maybe once we can go back to China or
Or
do
Singapore.
something
Miami
together,
right now,
or
I
Miami.
think.
They are now in Miami. It's just,
Oh.
they also
They're
made
cool.
a lot of developments. So
Damn,
Yeah.
That will
that's
be
pretty
awesome.
impressive.
So about printing foods, you made a 3D printer and you're like optimizing the 3D printer that you're using.
not really. Like, we are providing the service to restaurants, and now we are actually reselling the printer, and we are working on the developments of our own printer.
Look, could you explain something more about the service that you provide?
Yes. Well.
There's 3 of them, right?
Yeah, indeed.
Right.
3 parts. So one part is the recipe, because they are printing from their own residual food flows. And what I told you, well, they need the right consistency. So we provided with a sort of standardized recipe. Chefs are very creative, so they can, well, see themselves what they will put into this recipe. Next to that, we have the design service. Like, they are very creative, but not really in, well, technical stuff. So making those designs is quite a challenge for them. And we can cooperate with the chefs to create those designs. And that's really nice, because then they can really serve something unique which fit to their dishes. And which, well, is unique in the sense that another restaurant will not have the same design. And then the last part is the training, because, well, from the start they are thinking that it is really difficult to start working with a 3D printer. And so we give them a training and explain it how it really works to print, and that they can really do it themselves.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Like, how did you come up with those 3 aspects? Is there a reasoning behind that?
Yeah, we joined in a design to market program,
Oh, of course.
and we used the lean startup method, which basically makes sure that throughout the whole entire process we had to interview a lot of people. So we just started calling a lot of restaurants here in the neighborhood and started talking to them about how we could develop our service. And we basically started at the highest level restaurant we could start at. So we decided calling all the Michelin-star restaurants, and we actually got invited to quite a lot of them to talk to the
Wow.
chef and talk to the owner. So that was really cool.
Oh, damn.
How were their reactions actually about the 3D printer? Were they excited or were they
Yeah.
like, meh?
No, they were
Man.
really excited about the 3D printer. They were different about like how they could use it. So some of them actually wanted to put it like on a trolley and then go into the restaurant and live print for,
Oh,
for
damn.
the
Like the
Yeah.
sushi kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Damn.
Yes. And yeah, that's different for every chef and every owner of the restaurant. They have a different view on it. But how we develop the services together with them. So we sit down with them like, what do you need to actually be able to use printing food in your restaurant?
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the best ways to like develop your product, just
Yeah.
with the users together. It's like a really,
I think so as well.
it's a hype as well, right? Like co-creation or
Yeah.
something. It's like one of those
Sort of.
buzzwords. But you applied
Yeah.
it very well. No?
We applied it very well. Our
Damn.
teachers would be very proud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of industrial design engineering,
Ooh.
how did you use the skills that you learned during industrial design engineering within printing food?
Well, actually, last week I learned that on this university we are very unique in self-directed learning.
Ooh.
And I think that's, well, within our program we start doing and learning things ourselves. We already discussed it also with you, that, well, we have different kind of courses we take, and maybe we also have less courses because we spend more time in our projects.
Mm-hmm.
Because we learn a lot of things ourselves. So I learned myself to 3D model, which I also use for printing foods, but also to start creating new recipes. Working with food is not something you do within industrial design. Actually, well, it's a little bit upcoming, but it's not that kind of normal. But you can do this kind of processes, or you can take the processes you already learned within industrial design within, well, designing and seeing food as a material. So that way actually we still continue with printing food.
So you basically just apply everything from industrial design, but just use food as a material. That's the biggest difference. Is that something that you learn in your minor from Wageningen University, right?
There I learned more about, well, the aspects of the material, and then in industrial design it's more how can I apply it in the end.
Fair enough. Okay, then now Vita, You are now an innovation manager student, right?
Yes,
You
I am.
started as industrial design and
Yeah.
now innovation management.
True.
How do you apply like those two in printing food right now?
So industrial design is more about the users and about like how we actually set up something together with them, and how what Elzelinde says, how the recipes fit to the chefs, how you can actually work with the material, how you work with the printer, and then innovation management focuses more over the business process. So really on how we can go from a startup to a scale up, how we can actually make sales, how you do the management of a company, how you actually manage innovation. That's
Fair
why
enough.
it's called
And
innovation.
then innovation
management.
comes from the industrial design part.
Yeah, sometimes it does. Yeah, I think most of the time it does. It's most of the time the industrial designers that can actually come up with innovation, but sometimes innovation can also be a new business process. So, for example, how you work with a team in a factory, for example, that's also can be innovative as well.
So it's more logistics, kind of management.
It's
direction.
Yeah, it's more business, and then also more on the management level. It's a bit different, but yeah, it still focuses on like the innovations, on the new products, on something like. Yeah.
Okay. Now, speaking of innovations, right?
Mhm.
You've come up with a puree and blenders and 3D printers and all that stuff. That's now here, right? The technology, we have the technology now. What do you think? Where do you want to take this next? What's the next step for printing food?
Well, I want to come up with something new again. Like now we're 3D printing and it's just one puree. And we're
Mhm.
developing a new printer and hopefully also with new possibilities. So not only printing one puree, but multiple purees, or printing more efficient. Because now, well, for a restaurant, it takes a lot of time to print enough for the whole restaurant. So that kind of, well, when we can create certain steps into this, it would be great, and I think more interesting for restaurants as well.
Yeah.
So you're focusing now on developing a new printer by yourself?
Yeah,
Well,
well, with a
ourselves.
team. It's not that we are really focusing on this. Jeff,
So-
you're the designer.
We have
and,
very smart mechanical engineers for this.
That's a touchy subject. Mechanical engineering. Please don't curse.
No, they're very cool because they actually very well know how to do this,
I
and
can
they
imagine.
talk
Yeah,
about
you're a
screws
mechanical
and-
engineer by yourself, Jonas.
I can imagine they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But how does that work? How is the process with you wanting? Because the initiative is from you. You want a new 3D printer, and then you have put together a team of some sort.
Yeah, so we're at the university. There's innovation space where there's student teams and there's startups, and you work together with people from different faculties to actually work on your project. So for us, it's printing food, and then so we work with someone from mechanical engineering, from industrial engineering, and someone else from industrial design.
Oh,
Okay.
but you've just come across them in the.
Yeah,
Program that you.
Yeah.
sort of.
Well, one of them just joined the course. We implemented
Yeah.
printing food as a case in one of the
Oh.
courses, and she joined, and it was really nice to work with her.
Yeah.
And
Manuel I met during the introduction week when I was struggling with the printer, and he came to help and fix it.
And he
then-
actually fixed it.
and he actually knew how to fix it. So that's when I got in contact with him. So he joined as well, and Juan sort of joined because he liked it. So he was like, "Oh, this sounds really cool. I want to join this." And then he contacted us about joining.
Oh damn! And you were just open, like, yeah, sure, come on
Yeah,
in.
of course.
How does it feel to like hire people? Because you're hiring people now, right?
not really. Like
Well,
they enjoy to work with us and for us, and we cannot pay them already.
Hmm.
So it's more that they do it because, well, they enjoy to do this kind of work and they learn something from it. They do it more for themselves and for the learning experience than that they do it for money.
So, what I would expect is that you are all the money that you earn, you put it in the company into the development of the 3D printer and the different types of purees.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that's also the key of innovation management, like having a startup. I think, if I'm correctly, because I've also followed the minor innovation management, that you like invest in your company to like
of course. You
keep
need
innovating.
we need to invest in ourselves to be able to continue with what we do. So we cannot, for example, we cannot develop a printer without money. So it's essential that we invest in actually doing stuff like that to continue doing that. But we are also applying for like subsidies and grants to get that going.
Yeah.
Is that where you get your money from, like subsidies, or do you have investors as well, like actual people that just
Venture capitalists.
something like that, or
No, we
angels
don't
or
have
whatever?
venture capitalists. They're like, if you're a bit further in the process, that's mostly when they come in. But we applied for subsidies and we won a prize where we won a couple of prizes, so we have some money from that. And then we do like talks sometimes, so we give like presentations about food waste. That works as well. We did a Studium Generale presentation, which was really cool.
Oh yeah, that's for the entire university, right?
Yeah, well, it was for the Art Academy in,
The Avans
Yeah.
Hogeschool in Den Bosch.
In the Bosch. Check.
so that was really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also got invited or applied
Yes.
or
Yeah.
I invited.
It's really cool that you're sharing your knowledge that you learned during this whole.
It was actually really fun because we
experience.
had like the business model, we did like the lean model canvas, and we filled it out together with all the people that were listening to our presentation, and then at the end everyone had their like own business idea, like how they can actually continue with it. It was really fun to do.
But this was actually last week, right?
Yeah.
You were preparing for it. When we came.
we were.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was
Wow.
really fun.
Nice.
how long is such a presentation?
That was half an hour or 45
45
minutes.
Ish.
Yeah,
And then
something
it's
like
just
that.
you talking for half an hour, or is it interactive?
Yeah,
It
it was
was
interactive. And we were talking together, sort of. Like, was more.
Sort of.
I was doing our story, and Vita was doing the business model interaction, so that we had.
I was
well,
very
two
dependent
storylines.
on like how interactive the people in the audience were.
yeah.
I was like
but you're
fully dependent.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that must be scary though.
It was
this was
fun.
also what you concerned like last week. that you hoped that the people were
Sort of, yeah.
Very
interacting.
helpful, yes.
Okay, so we spoke about this last time already as well, but I'm really curious when I look around on the internet and I look at 3D printing food, or just 3D printing food. The main thing that people speak about is, oh wow, it looks so cool. You can make such amazing shapes. But when you come in, you have way more added value than just the shape, right? Because you're taking, I said it last time, I shouldn't have said it, but you're taking food from a dumpster and you're putting it in a Michelin-star restaurant, right? That's some crazy added value there, just by a 3D printer. Now, the disclaimer,
It's
Vita,
not trash.
it's not trash. Vita and Elzelinde from Up Printing Food do not take food from dumpsters.
Thank
It is
you.
just disclaimer. It is just the slightly less perfect bananas and carrots from the supermarket. But like the added value for you is way more than just the shape, right? Do you see yourself as unique in that aspect, that you're recycling or upprinting food? That's why, like, the name.
Yes, I think so. Because no other companies are really doing that. Some are showing a sustainable vision, which is good. But I think it's important that we really focus on the sustainable aspect and that we're not just using this kind of technology to create something cool. And it is cool, but it is cool, but also valuable, and that's really important. So, yes, I think we're unique in this sense, and I hope that restaurants also choose to work with us for this reason.
For the added value.
Yeah, for the added value and for the story they can tell to their guests, so that they can also sort of show how they are working with the food they normally throw away.
I think that's really cool. That's just what I
Thank
wanted to
you.
have clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so Jean, do you want to do the final question?
Yes. Okay. In one sentence, why are we different from any other engineering discipline here at the university or else?
We being industrial design engineers.
Industrial designers.
Okay, I think industrial designers are way more creative and know way better how to work with their actual customers, their actual users, how to get them involved in the process of making something.
Okay. Interesting point of view. Elzelinde, do you have something to add to?
Yes, I think that industrial designers can be very different when you, compare one with another as well. So that people can really focus on what they want to develop themselves, and that's not that they can differentiate within all the education, but also within what they want to do, and that they can be focused on something they really enjoy to do.
Because they're very agile, you'd say.
Very what?
Agile or flexible?
Yes.
Okay, so
Okay.
on that bombshell.
Maybe you can create a one sentence now.
Yeah, we'll make the one line. Well, it's actually really interesting that you say so, because that's kind of the point of the Icarus idea. We want to show what kind of weird things you can add on top of industrial design engineering, because you can do anything you want.
Mm-hmm.
So it's nice that you say so. But just to conclude, we've been talking about upprinting food, and if I'm not mistaken, you were looking for some new companies to work with, right?
Yes.
Isn't that right? So if anyone listening, or if you listener have a Michelin-star restaurant, please let us know, or let Elzelinde and Vita know. We'll put the contacts in the show notes. For now, thank you very much for listening. Hopefully see you next time, or hear you next time with the Icarus idea, and the 20th of December for the Icarus Nightcap. Please enjoy that. Let us know what you think. We're really curious. We can do anything we want with it, so let us know where you want us to take it. And Elzelinde, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Vita, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Had a lot of fun, and see you next time.
Yes.
Well, Jens will cut this out. This is fine.